Hello, brethren. What a wonderful morning. I take this wonderful opportunity. Today, I'm going to reflect why does the world need great powers competition. When we talk of great powers, we reflect on the greatest powers of our time. Because from ancient history, we then to study about the ancient Babylon or the ancient Egypt, all the great Babylonian, the great Roman Empire. And we tend to reflect on these great powers in an historical context. But now we live in our time. In our modern time, we tend to look at the world in a different angle. The world has undergone through transformation from unipolar world order to a multipolar world order. Multipolarity means that different polars, different powers coming into the world stage. So the world is no longer a unipolar world order. So there is that great power competition. And above that, we do have, besides great power competition, we have alliances. Each nation have aligned into particular alliances. If we cross examine the First and Second World War, the formation of the League of Nations, the formation of the United Nations, and the writing of the United Nations Charter and the Security Council, and once you cross examine, the United Nations Charter was written after the Second World War that the world did not want to go back to the brink of the deadly war and the colonial era that affected the world stage. And now humanity wanted to have a center of gravity, a center of expression. That's why we normally see every September of every year, every nation on planet Earth gather at New York, at the United Nations, the August Assembly, and each person, each president of a nation and its representation try to give their overview of what they have done to promote themselves and to bring themselves into the world stage. That's why you see many nations, many people speak. Despite the COVID and its pandemic, you saw even nations speaking from their far hand, from their motherlands, with their representation in New York. So you think about the world as formed itself. It's the temple of the world we call the United Nations. And then you look at the Security Council when it talks about matter of war and peace. They have rotating powers, but we have the five permanent members of the Security Council, where we do have the United Nations and the United States. We do have Russia, we have Great Britain, we have France, we have China. So those are the five permanent members of the Security Council. And we have non-permanent members of the Security Council, which have rotating powers. So they are for a certain time and they come into the stage. So today I'm going to speak about the great power competition. In the world stage, despite we have had multiple, we have had unipolar world order or bipolar world order when we had the Soviet Union and the United States, and now we had the United States having the superpower, superior power above them. But now the world has entered a different stage, arena of economics. You see, China is a rising power with great power within itself, economics and power. You see, Russia with its mighty military power in the world stage, minerals and oil and gas. You also see the United States as one of the greatest power we have ever seen in history, with both military, economics, and all. And then you see the alliances. You see, like the Northern Atlantic Treaty Organization, which aligns with the United States and the European powers. And then you see China and Russia forming their own alliance, where you see the cycle, which is this security, whatever organization, which is an alliance of their own powers within there to counterbalance this great challenge of the world. And then we see different alliances in the world. We see the Arab League, we see the European Union, we see different alliances coming into being in the world. They play a great role. So the world will no longer be ruled in one unipolar world order where one single power can dictate terms of the world coexistence. So that's why it's very difficult one nation to just put its gun on the others and tell them, oh, you need to follow what I want you to do. They have some things they use. Economics. They apply economic sanctions to make the other country to think or to subdue them in their way of thinking or in their way of undertaking. But the world will never, because of these alliances, these countries are going to be interdependent. That's why even in the book of Revelation 21 or 13, you see such a scenario of clay and iron, a depiction of that the nations will never be united. They will form alliances. These alliances is like they are interwoven. Some are iron, like the United States, China, and others within themselves. And that's why it's going to be very difficult. One nation to think that it has mighty power, superior power than all other nations. So it will subdue them in its glory and make them do whatever that nation would want to be done in its glory, which is not going to happen because the world will never go back to that. So we must encourage ourselves and welcome this world order we called the multipolarity. Multipolarity, the need of multipolarity has a greater role that will enable humanity to coexist because there will be checks and balances. So one nation has greater power, it thinks it will go and do whatever it wants. The other power comes in and says, no, you cannot go beyond there. So there's that checks and balances. Like when we talk of the United States, we do have checks and balances. eh? One branch of government cannot have an absolute power over the other branch of government, which is similar to that. Even in different countries, we have the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive branch. So they check their powers within themselves. So what I was trying to say, we need these powers, both economics, military, and the alliances because they counterbalance. Take, for example, a country like Kyrgyzstan and think of the coup d'etat that was about or whatever the unrest and you see how these nations using their alliance they are able to tame that issue and bring it to rest. Such is magnificent, such is authoritative power within those countries. So that is the beauty of such a great power competition. So our goal now in our world stage is to think and reflect on the importance of great powers within themselves, how they function, what are the strengths and their weaknesses. You think like the European Union, it uses sanctions, uses economics. That is how these powers within themselves they function. Others use military, and that is how the world will never be ruled by a single power. It will never be the case. So we welcome such a way of life, such a way of understanding, because we have witnessed how violent the world has been when great powers have stronger powers, absolute powers, trying to do whatever they want to do. So I hope you enjoy this and may God bless you in the name of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I will also encourage you to subscribe and we will discuss more about in depth about politics. I don't like to talk about politics, but I love politics and I like to have projection and predictions of things. And most of my predictions they are very accurate. I can't go wrong on them, but that is the case. May God bless you. Thank you.